would you suggest to people that are looking at taking hypnotherapy as a career? What would be their best first steps for starting up their business?
Well, I think you need to consider where you are. A lot of people are doing things online, but to be fair, build up your business, or whether you get a shared room with another counsellor or someone, maybe one day a week or something like that, so you can build up a physical office presence. Hello everyone, I'm Meredith McCarthy. I'm going to be your host for this talk time. I'm going to be joined by Teresa Saunders, my fellow hypnotherapist and friend. We're going to be talking about setting up your business. And a lot of times people haven't really thought too much about that. They might have thought, okay, I want to become a hypnotherapist. But actually, to become a hypnotherapist, you really have to be in business. That means self-employed. And if you've never been self-employed, it's a little bit of a leap of faith. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and about how I started and so on. So, I hope you enjoy this one today.
Hi, Meredith. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be back again this week.
Absolutely. We're going to dive in and talk a little bit about, I guess, a hypnotherapy practice. And different people will be at different stages out there, maybe tuning into this podcast. Maybe you haven't even started actually learning about hypnotherapy yet, or maybe you've just got your certification and you want to know how to start out in business. So hopefully this podcast will be a little bit for everyone.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping for, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're actually starting this new Talk Time series around helping people into this career. And obviously I'm a little bit biased because I have my own school and I love to teach people all about hypnosis. So this is what this channel is about too, is educating and supporting people out there just like you. What is important too is we want people to start to interact with the Talk Time and ask us questions so we can talk to those questions, because I'm sure there will be things that are questions you have that maybe we haven't talked about, and I'd love to be able to fill in those knowledge gaps for you and add as much value as we can to this Talk Time series. So what about you, Teresa, when you're thinking about starting out into a new career? It's a little bit daunting, isn't it?
It can be very daunting, yes, especially if you've been employed your entire life and then you want to start out your own business. It's about where you want to start, how do you start, and what's the best thing to do first. I mean, I was very fortunate. I've seen you sort of change your business and grow that over the past couple of decades, but I wasn't there originally when you first started your business career. So I'm sure that was quite different because times were quite different back then to what they are now.
Well, funny, we're in New Zealand. We are in a bit of a recession. Let's face it, and times are tough, and it's a really, really tricky time for people first starting out into an environment where there isn't the normal disposable income to maybe invest in yourself and your personal growth. Even taking that leap of faith of signing up for a diploma, that costs a lot of money, and you think, oh, well, I hope it pays off. Well, it can, but markets change. And when I started out, actually, it was in a really depressive marketplace. So I've kind of been through that, and I've felt the highs and the lows in the market. Definitely, the weather of time over the period of years. So I've been in this over 30 years. So I've certainly seen things change.
So what would...
Sorry. You go.
What would you suggest to people that are looking at taking hypnotherapy as a career? What would be their best first steps for starting up their business?
Well, I think you need to consider where you are. A lot of people are doing things online, but to be fair, I think you need to get into your community and get known by your community somehow, and have a space. So whether it's in a community centre where you've got a room that you hire as you build up your business, or whether you get a shared room with another counsellor or someone maybe one day a week or something like that, so you can build up a physical office presence. What are your thoughts on that, Teresa, versus maybe building up an online only hypnotherapy career?
I think online only could be very challenging this day and age at this moment, especially in New Zealand, because of the current recession. Although, having said that, I think you've possibly got a wider scope of people because you can, reach out further and wider. But then it's getting your name, whichever way you're doing that, whether it's in the community or online, it's actually getting yourself seen and a presence. So if you're going to try and do it online, I think you really need to be smart with your social media ads and that sort of thing. And you may need to have to invest quite a bit of money in to start getting even some return back from that.
Well, even thinking about building up a website, where do you begin? Because there's so much information out there. So that can feel daunting all by itself. Now, I remember years ago, websites didn't exist, and we had the yellow pages, and I had my board that I'd put outside on the road and hope people would come. But if you missed the yellow pages in your first year of starting up business, you really did need to put your self to task and go and meet and greet people around you in your immediate environment, put out flyers, business cards, any opportunity that I got, I would talk about what I was doing and educate people. So I spent a lot of time working on the business rather than in the business, definitely. But even now, I do not stop working on my business.
And I think there is nothing better than word of mouth. People say, oh, I saw her ad, or yeah, I've been to them. It was a while ago, or I recommended her to do go and see. That really goes a long way. So building up that community connection is great. I mean, you can go to your local, what do they call them? E-commerce like meetings and those sort of things, get out there to this chambers and go to the usually early morning breakfast meetings to be able to do. I know that we do know some fellow hypnotherapists that do actually go along to those meetings, and I think they have a little talk or something and have to speak for so many seconds or minutes, and then it goes along to the next person advertising. But they're getting their name out there so people know who they are, and people can network and recommend you that way.
For sure, networking is important. The BNI groups, so they're all around the place, scattered around New Zealand, and definitely a wonderful opportunity for you to describe what it is that you do and how you can help people. And they know people, and also they have a business that they want to promote too. So yes, definitely that networking is a big part of being present and accounted for in business. A lot of times too, location. So if I think about the Hutt Valley versus Wellington Central, there's always going to be more clients physically in my Wellington clinic than there will ever be out in the suburbs, because the majority of business people who can afford to invest in themselves just happen to be in Wellington during the week, whereas where I am. So I've always placed my office in that central zone. I haven't been off the beaten track. I like the golden mile. I'm just literally a stone's throw away from the main street in Wellington, and I've always positioned myself in that space. And I think that was the best idea I ever did, starting up my business.
I do want to say to people, though, that if they don't live in a big city and all that lot, that doesn't mean your business is going to be doom and gloom, because there is always people in the community that are going to need some assistance with their health and well-being. It's just looking at locations in the area that you actually are and networking with those people.
And you may need to think about facilitating group stuff or a weekend workshop or something like that, where people, even if they coming in from out of town, they can come and be there and around you, and you can participate in supporting them in those sort of ways. So there's definitely different business options to build up your business. I'm just going to go through some slides I've got here. So just common fears about starting out. And that can feel really overwhelming when you think about the cost of a business, and what it takes to break even. But I sort of would do some calculations in my head, Teresa. I'd go, okay, well, all I need is 2 clients and I've paid my rent. But if it didn't pay me first, that's fine, as long as I break even. So that would be my key performance indicator, my KPI is like, I must get 2 clients per whatever, to make ends meet. So if we think about risk versus reward, even get Google AdWords, where you can get a lot of traction for $120 a month, and all you need is 1 client. It's paid, 1 session with a client, and it's paid. So that's really a no-brainer. But if you don't get out there and you've got a website that's really young, you're not going to be at the top of the tree when it comes to all the other websites. So you may need to advertise using Google AdWords.
Yep. I mean, I remember years ago, and it's slightly off of the topic of hypnotherapy, but I remember when you used to do meditation, an hour's meditation that used to offer to the community for a donation, and that generated your business. You got customers from that. So that's well worth going. I mean, look at what you actually need to survive on. If you're fortunate enough that you have a partner or in a financial position where you can work, where you can just have a few clients to pay off your rooms, but you're getting out there, then go for it. But do know what your basic is that you need, so you can work out how you can actually start to kick your business off.
For sure. And I think for me, when I had the meditation mornings, and I went for the place that was my least busy day and also my least busy place. So it happened to be out in Upper Hutt. When I started to get busier and busier, and my children started to grow up and I had less and less time to give away, I had to let that go. But it was definitely a good funnel of getting clients to come in to see me and know about me. Yeah.
And if you don't have a space, you can do it at a community room. You could set, say, every Wednesday lunchtime or between 10 and whatever, I'm going to do this meditation. Put your flyers out, send out your emails, let the local community know. And don't despair if you only get a couple of people to start off with, because word of mouth will go out and it will grow. It's about people knowing your presence, isn't it?
Yep. And if you say, look, I'm going to do a koha towards the community centre, I don't know, some days I might get nobody, but those days that people give me a koha, I'm going to gift that back to the community centre. Free advertising. They'll advertise you. They'll have people already in that network that will be interested in trialling you out. So it's better than sitting in your office doing nothing for an hour. You may as well be utilising that time to get out there and make the best of that time.
And I guess it doesn't matter if you don't know how to do meditation. You could say that you're going to do a group hypnosis session on something, weight gain and management, or addiction, or whatever it is that you specialise in, couldn't you? You could do it that sort of way around.
100%. It just happened to be that I was a meditator for many years, so it was very easy for me to offer that up as a skill set. And I also started to run meditation retreats out at Castle Point regularly, so they all kind of fed one another. Definitely many of my hypnotherapy clients would become retreat people who had come along to do meditation, and many of my meditation people would go on the retreat and then they would become hypnotherapy clients. So it sort of fed one another.
So look at what other assets you have or tools you have in your toolbox.
Absolutely. So let's talk about legal considerations, because I think, sometimes it's not a very sexy topic, I know, but actually when you're starting out, I think there are a lot of really important topics that we must cover. And in this day and age, having liability insurance is actually really important. It doesn't matter whether you're just seeing one person every so often, you need to be covering yourself legally, because we have changed in New Zealand. For many, many years, I never even thought about having legal insurance for indemnity or liability. But these days, I think it's a must. What are your thoughts?
For sure, because times have changed and you never do know who you are seeing. And
Mm,
unfortunately, there are some people out there that perhaps have quite a few challenges in their own life,
mm,
and you could just be involved in some way that, yeah, they may feel that they've got a grievance with you as well. So at least if you've got public indemnity and liability insurance, then you have some sort of help with your legal fees. I mean, it's not compulsory in New Zealand, same as not having having a diploma is not compulsory to be able to set up on business. But I do feel personally that it is a must, and I would recommend
mm.
that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, on that note, you see, we're both part of the New Zealand Association of Professional Hypnotherapists, and that's part of our, I guess, being a professional is having indemnity and liability insurance, and having a code of conduct, and having, being checked. We've had a police check and all of those things. So we have a very clear way of turning up and being in business when you're aligning yourself to a professional body. I highly recommend people doing that. But of course, you're going to have to get your qualifications that will meet the standards of a body. So that the NZAPH, they are a independent body, so they're not a school. They're really there to promote hypnosis and hypnotherapy in New Zealand and safe practice of it. And so if there is a person, let's say you had a client that wasn't very happy with how you handled their session, they might put forward a formal complaint towards the body, the association, and then there would be a formal process that would go through a complaints process. So I think, it is important as a practitioner to really make sure you're with the right association that's going to support you in your practice. And you want to be obviously thinking about how you conduct yourself. So having a clear code of conduct and all of those things, and knowing that and abiding by that will give you some structure. Yeah.
And I mean, you go to your doctors, and your doctor has to have all these professional criteria they have to meet. And in my opinion, if we're practicing as hypnotherapists, we want to be seen as professionals. So, we need to continuously study, and we need to have all those checks, your insurance, your first aid.
Mm,
And like you were saying, belonging to professional association. And
mm,
you know you don't have to be qualified to belong to the NZAPH. That's independent. You can come in, and well, before you even enroll as a student, you can come in if you've got an interest as a hypnotherapist, and then as a student, and you'll get all those other supports as well, that your school will also help
mm.
sort of reinforce.
For sure. And I think it's important to be part of a community of like-mindedness. Because if you
You've
do
got
have
your
a
network.
professional question, you can go and you can ask other people who've been there, done that. And definitely, it's a very lonely career otherwise if you don't network with fellow hypnotherapists. Client agreements in terms of service and informed consent is a real must. Just thinking about that, I remember when I first started, it was a very basic form, but I do think we need to make sure you cover very thoughtfully the kind of questions that might be useful for you to know about that client. Have they had previous issues, and have they been diagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar and things like that. There are some questions that you might really want to be asking before you start working with certain types of people, because if they have got some of those, that could be problematic for you as a practitioner. So you do need to think about what's on your consent form. What are your thoughts on that, Teresa?
Again, yes, I think so. And if you go to a training school like the NZACH, you will actually be guided through part of that as process of your learning for diploma. So doing a diploma really packs out that information that you're actually learning and gives you knowledge, as opposed to just a few weeks or a few hundred hours.
Mm. For sure, for sure. So when we're looking at that idea of certification and stuff, we want to look into, what is this course about, and thinking about how we want to manage, can I do a weekend course and then put up my shingle and say I'm a hypnotherapist? Probably not the best idea. So some of the courses out there are really only a week, and I don't feel it really prepares you properly. I'm sorry, but I'm a little bit biased in that. I do think you need some real baseline skills, but also the more advanced hypnotherapy skills. So whatever that client presents with, you're able to have a bigger toolbox to be able to deal with that kind of more complex client.
For sure. And again, even like once you've completed a diploma, you're still learning, with each client you get it and you're evolving, you're learning.
Mm.
And I'm sure like even yourself, you can say after 30 years, there's still sometimes things that you see differently and you do still gain knowledge.
100%. I don't think there's one place that I've like one conference that I haven't come away learning something and maybe stretching how I do deal with a client. Or maybe it might be a YouTube thing that I watch and I'm like, that's interesting, I'll give that a go. You always stay open to learning, keep it fresh for yourself as well, because it can be very boring if you do the same old siloed thing all your life. I just couldn't do that. I like to kind of play around and see how I can integrate that new idea or thought or perspective into the client sessions.
For sure. Have an eclectic toolbox.
100%. When we're kind of looking at that idea of business structure, I just wanted to, again, not the sexy stuff, but actually something that a lot of students do ask. If you've never been self-employed, do talk to an accredited accountant. There are two different types of accountants. Some may not be able to work with anyone other than a sole trader. Others need to have the accredited accounting behind them so they can deal with you if you become a company. Okay, so companies tax versus the sole trader tax, quite different. And there are some pros and cons on being one or the other. I myself have chosen to be a sole trader all these years. I'm still GST registered, all of those things, and I can write off certain stuff within my business practice as a sole trader. So for me, it's a lot simple. The tax and how it's all worked out is more simple than maybe being a company. And so do get professional advice about what's going to be best for you and your business. Insurance, again, that public indemnity and liability. We have ACC here, but it doesn't really help you if someone trips over in your office and it was your rug or your slippery floor. They may well take you to court and sue you for damages. So you need to be a bit careful. Okay, and creating that professional client space. So let's talk about that actually. What would you deem professional? If you think about your expectation of a client coming in for a session, what would that be?
Well, I think first of all, I think as therapists, you need to be mindful of your clothing that you're actually wearing as well. So, your skirts, if you're female, your skirt's not too short, and also the cuts of your tops and that sort of thing. And men as well, looking at whether you're sort of like smart casual, I guess. You want to be clean and tidy looking, presentable, so you do look professional. You don't have to sit there with a tie and all that lot, but maybe you rip jeans and a dirty t-shirt's not the right sort of look. Well, not for me anyway, if I was going to a therapist. And your space to be tidy, not cluttered, clean. I personally, for a no, wouldn't want a TV in that therapy room. So just being mindful what you've got around and what the atmosphere is and the lighting, those sort of things.
For sure. I mean, for me, I've always had a professional space. I've chosen not to work from my home, and I prefer that for safety reasons. But I also prefer it because they've taken care of the legal obligations of safety on my floor. And, if there is what we call an incident, it's part of my agreement with who I'm leasing from, like Office Suites here in Wellington or the Manuka Health Centre. They take care of the well-being of the space, so that there's nothing to trip on or slip on. There are proper rails, there's proper entrance and exit, and all of those things are legal. Whereas if you're practicing from your home, you've got a slippery path or an uneven path, or you've got a bit of a dodgy step, or you don't have rails by your step, all sorts of things. It can be the smallest little thing that can be a bit of a problem when you're greeting someone.
Well, even earthquakes, and we have plenty of those here. If you're at home, who else knows that you've got a client with you at home if something did happen? And yes, it could be a very far-fetched stretch, but you never do know. And they're just things I think you need to bear in mind, to be honest, about safety and well-being of yourself and your client too.
Also, shabby chic is okay, but if your furnishings aren't clean, I choose to have leather where I'm working because I can wipe it down. People come in and they're a bit sweaty and icky, and I have pillows, I can go wash them. Think about the people. If you're seeing a number of clients, if you've got standard furnishing, how clean that is. And if it's not, can you put a throw over and just make sure that it's laundered and clean and tidy. I've definitely heard of some experiences that clients have fed back to me of other practitioners that they've gone to, and they weren't too impressed about the state of cleanliness. Even, give them a glass of water. Make sure that is a crystal clean glass. A lot of people are less fussy, a lot of people are very fussy. So if you're looking at how you have your lighting, even if we've got really big, strong down lights and you're getting someone to relax in that atmosphere, it isn't going to be conducive to great hypnotherapy. So can you create a bit more ambience by having up lights or some sort of filtered lighting of some kind? Obviously, that's not always going to be available to you. And if you turned off the light, it might feel too moody, So just think, is there an extra light source that you can set up? So if you did turn off the mains light, then that light can kind of give a gentle glow for the entire session.
And you can, like at community places, rooms, they may have lighting, or you can actually take your own lighting in and plug it in, because, you can take a small luggage suitcase, what would you call it, travel case, with you, and put in a nice cushion if you wanted to, or a throw, just to make it a bit more homely, but remembering to make sure that it is clean. And people have allergies. People might be allergic to dogs or cats and those sort of things. And the same as if you're burning incense or oils, just be mindful, not everybody can always tolerate those sort of things.
Yeah. I never burn incense in my office, nor a candle. It's too much, but I do use aromatherapy, and I have a oil dish which is warm all the time, so I can just put a couple of drops of essential oils in there. You do need to be mindful, not everyone's into that. And not every space will want you to use essential oils either. But people can be smelly. So if you do have a smelly human and you've got another person coming in, you might want to invest in a spray of some kind, just an essential oil spray to just spritz around and just kind of lift the zone a bit. It is just part of that. But having a cushion for people who are a bit shorter, or having a sort of a rug or something for people who like to be rugged up when they're relaxing. All of these things, having choices for your client. Some people will love it and some people hate it, and that's okay. But having choice, I think that's an important thing to bring to your space. I mean, we've covered quite a bit today, Teresa, haven't we? And we've got quite a few, I guess, things to think about in the way of the idea of what's your biggest worry of starting out. So, if you want to put some comments below about things that are on your mind, and we can talk to that, that would be really good, So have a think about that. If you've got any other questions around what we teach in the way of the NZACH, you can visit the website nzach.ac.nz, and we have the curriculum and everything there. It is a pretty solid diploma course. And so, at the end of that, you're going to go away with a very, very solid toolkit.
Yeah. And if you've done a small training session and you think, oh yeah, I really would like to get back into that. I've done some training before and I didn't carry it out for whatever reason, I want to now, then go back and look on the website, because there are other courses there that Meredith offers to people. So do reach out if you can't see what you're looking for, and remember to like, share and subscribe to the channel as well, so you get more information and updates. And comment, please, guys, comment. We want to interact with you. We want to answer the questions that you're sort of got there, burning questions that you want answered. And if you want to be anonymous, then contact us through the school email, and we'll keep it anonymous as well.
Absolutely. So thank you again, Teresa, for joining me today. And this is the first of this series where we're really talking about that professional path, what it takes to be a hypnotherapist. We're going to talk about all sorts of things in this series. So I hope you all enjoy it. Also, coming up very soon, I'm going to start to share the client session that I've pre-recorded. So I'm going to be catching up with that client tomorrow. I'll see how she's been doing, and you get to see what that's all about. But I decided when I do flick that out to everyone, I also will continue doing this weekly, but I'll add that in, so you'll get two things coming out. So those that like this kind of thing, rather than watching a full client session, you can still tune in and we can entertain you.
That sounds fantastic, Meredith. Look forward to
it. Brilliant. So bye for now. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.